Hi, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Weiss. This is another issue of Medicine Confidential. Why are we not further along in treating or curing some long-standing conditions? Alzheimer's disease was described in 1906. Lou Gehrig's disease, named after him, was amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. He died in the 1940s. Why? Well, it's been attributed to Albert Einstein that doing the same thing, expecting a different result, is a hallmark of psychosis. If research isn't being done the correct way, then this is what happens. Obviously, our whole system is not good. We keep throwing money at things to support large labs at big universities. Very little comes out of it. Most of the advantages have come from drug companies. When you have people thinking the same way, in the same silo, then how can there be an innovation? Einstein alluded to that as well. All the neurologists are taught by the neurologists, and they think the same thing. And nowadays, the individual researcher is gone, more or less. Why is that? Because when you work at a university, researchers spend 40% of their time or more writing grants, which they may get in a year or two. So that's 40% of their time already lost. Now, the issue is when there's limited grant money, they only want to fund things that work. So essentially, the researcher has to try to do the experiment he is proposing to do to get the results so he can get the grant. Most people never get grants. And even if you do get the grant, they don't give you all the money. And even if they give you the money, as what has happened recently, they can cancel the grant and suddenly you're left out in the lurch. Private organizations hire the same academicians to review the grants. So are you going to give the grant to a friend of yours who one day might be sitting on a grant board looking at your grant, or to some unknown person that they don't even understand what that person's doing because it's not traditional? Thomas Kuhn, who was a Harvard professor, brilliant man, wrote The Structure of Scientific Revolution approximately 40 years ago, and he said that innovation comes from the outliers, the people thinking outside the box, outside the field, looking in, who see something that nobody else ever paid attention to. That's why it takes so long. He was saying it takes an average of 20 years. I wrote a book on medical heroes who buck the system, and in many cases their lives were ruined by the medical establishment. Dr. Ridley invented the intraocular lens. Everybody, when they have cataract surgery, gets an intraocular lens, but at the time he did it, he was lambasted and criticized and got depressed, and he said if he had known this was going to happen to him, he never would have done it. He was knighted when he was like 92 and died the next year. Other people have had their licenses pulled or attacked mercilessly. I have been attacked mercilessly. Easy to say. I mean, people who don't understand what you're doing or feel threatened by what you're doing, there's a natural bias. If you're a professor and you didn't think of this, and you have a laboratory with $10 million of grants that never came up with anything worthwhile. They just rehash and rehash. And most of the articles in the journals are the same stuff over and over and over again. People analyzing other people's work or basing their reputations on criticizing the person's work. That's how they build reputations. And the articles have 20 authors on it because everybody's getting some credit. They put their 2 cents in. And this is what's been going on for years and years and years. And the proof of why I'm correct is that nothing has been done. Really. Look at all the poor people with Alzheimer's and with ALS and everything else under the sun. Eddie Murphy talks about the drug companies as drug dealers, pushing pills. And a lot of them are good, but there's plenty that aren't, and it's just incremental differences at great expense that after they spent hundreds of millions of dollars or $1 billion to get through the FDA, they need to make some profit, so the FDA approves it, and they charge whatever the heck they want, and they push it to the doctors, and they advertise on TV, and then you say, oh, here's a drug, oh, and I have this condition, so I want to use it. But there's 4,000 side effects, and it doesn't even work that well. Now, as many of you know, I have been working for more than 20 years on a dynamic light scattering spectroscopy device to diagnose non-invasively, inexpensively, immediately Alzheimer's disease. And I self-funded everything. I can't get a grant. I was at Harvard and MIT, but once I left, I'm not in an academic institution, and so all these government and granting agencies won't give me any money. Like they took away my brain, but they didn't. And if anything, I can do better, faster research when I'm not encumbered by the university and its politics. One reason I left Harvard was I had government grants, but every time I needed a piece of equipment, I had to go through a committee. And there was one, and the final straw was I needed this piece of equipment for an operation, and it cost a couple of $100. And I said, I need this piece of equipment. The person needs a surgery next week. And they said, well, you have to go to the committee. I said, but it's my money. You have to go to the committee. Oh, the committee's not meeting. It's a holiday. They're going to meet in 2 months. I said, I need it now. They said, you can't. So I said, the hell with you. And I bought it out of my own pocket because the patient couldn't wait. And this is the system. There's no sense of urgency. Christopher Reeve, the Superman who died, said that in his book. There's no sense of urgency. During World War II, we built ships. They built a ship in 24 hours, a Liberty ship, to prove it can be done. They were building ships left and right. The road near my house has been ripped up for the last 6 months, and you never see anybody working. It took a month to get my bathroom fixed when somebody first didn't show up, and then the guy who showed up didn't know what he was doing, and then the third guy finally fixed it. There's no sense of urgency. Many years ago, I also work in stem cells, and I wrote a bill to advance stem cells and research, which would have included this Alzheimer's device, fast track things for people with good ideas. And I wrote this, and the day before my local legislator was supposed to present it, he called me up and said he needed $10,000, which I didn't have to give him. And so it never went anywhere because it's all about money. But God forbid he gets Alzheimer's disease, so I'm sure he'll call me up and say, whatever happened to that thing you were working on? Well, you never helped me. And I've gone to a number of my local congressmen, and they're too busy because they don't give a damn about you. It's about themselves getting reelected. That's why the whole system is rotten. And I self funded all my work, and I can do it immediately. And if I need a piece of equipment, I can order it immediately. And if a patient needs something, I can buy it and give it to them immediately. Instead of the system where people spend half their lives writing grants that they never get. Well, you just got a piece of my mind. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. Thank you.